There's a lot to say about Justin, but it says I'm not allowed to steal his thunder. It says that right here. So please give a warm welcome, I would, to Justin Kane.
No pressure at all. Apparently, I have thunder, so that's exciting. So, good afternoon. I'm very excited to be here and speak with you today. Before we go any further, I'd like to share with you a story, video of my story up until 2011.
It was 1983, August 31st.
It was the first day of 4th grade.
I was almost to school.
And his shoe was untied. I said, Justin, your shoe's untied.
I bent down and tied my shoe. And when I did, this pain that I can't even describe.
And then just shot up and grabbed his head and said, Dad, my head. And then he started just
vomiting everywhere. I fell back, and my dad was trying to find out what was happening, and his voice got really mechanical, and then I was out. I loved to ride a bike. That was a huge thing that I loved to do when I was a kid.
When he first came out of it, they just said they were no guarantee, they couldn't tell us anything.
I was very aware of my surroundings. Problem was I had no way to actually tell him. I was basically a vegetable that I could see.
The fact that even as we were taking the necessary steps to keep him alive, he was actually trying to interact with us.
Dr. Gerton at one point said he will, he pretty much knew from his experience that he'll be able to talk again. It's going to come.
I was in there, and I was determined that I was going to get everything back that I lost.
We weren't sure of everything that could happen that would be good, but we were certain that good things could happen. And it is really necessary to let families know that.
I just am so grateful for that man and his experience. You wouldn't guess it to look at Justin. I mean, he still looked probably minimally responsive, and you're thinking, how much is he going to be cognitively impaired? What are we going to have? What's it going to be?
Just last week, for the first time in 16 years, I got on a bike and I rode it.
The personal story is an important piece. But the contribution he's going to make is much larger.
It's Lunch with a Purpose. We do it every Thursday.
He's been able to integrate his advocacy for paying back the community, and that's a big part of what he's doing when he's promoting the weekly lunches or the turf football game that he sponsored out at MSU.
It continues to surprise me. He told me about a year ago that he had this idea for this football game. I didn't know much about the details, and then all of a sudden I see the poster that came out, and I see the advertisements come out, and then I go there that day, and he has all these former athletes. They're there, and they're raising money, and they're having a good time, and I just shake my head and say, okay, Justin, what's next?
When you see a child severely injured and who will just keep working at not being severely injured, and then you see him not only become a business person and a person who pursues his own interests, but then you see him start giving back to the community whenever he has a chance. Then you realize, my goodness, look at what really happened. What really happened was he took control of his own life.
The thing that I'm hoping is my company will get to the point where I can also, write a big check back to my hospital, and with a big thank you at the bottom, where it says for thank you.
So that was my story up until 2011. But the major issue with this video is that Sparrow Hospital actually hired my company to produce it, and so the quality was great. But everyone involved in my company knows my story inside and out. And so we all brain farted and never actually said what happened. I had a cancerous brain tumor that had been growing in my cerebellum since I was born, an astrocytoma. It was likely growing since birth, like I said, and it took until that fateful day to get to the size that the pressure caused from me bending over to tie my shoe caused it to hemorrhage. The hemorrhage and the emergency surgery left me with a wide array of disabilities, from memory to speech, balance, and vision. I became an entrepreneur because not many companies were willing to hire me, and the ones that did were unwilling to promote me beyond the entry-level position, no matter how much I outperformed my able-bodied counterparts. And finally, I got tired of it and tired of being undervalued. Over the past 11 years, I've become somewhat of a successful business owner, but my entrepreneurial lifestyle is not nearly as glamorous as Hollywood makes it out to be. And there's realistically only a small percentage of people that are crazy enough to sacrifice the sleep and the relationships and the pay and the vacations and the benefit packages for years and years and years to become an overnight success. So knowing that, it made it my mission to make employment for individuals with disabilities as realistic of a goal as possible. I started my mission by hiring Nate. Nate actually went to the same school I did, Hazlitt. Nate was born with a hole in his heart and eventually led him to have a grand mal seizure that left him with aphasia, the inability to articulate his thoughts well, and basically paralysis of the right side of his body. Before Nate came to us, he was doing billable work for a company and not being paid because his employer looked at his employment as charity. Nate has been employed with us for 7 years. Nearly every time he comes to work, he gets there early, he stays late, he works his butt off, and has improved greatly since when he started. The biggest accommodation that we've had to give him was the patience as we worked to understand the challenges and questions that he had while working on projects for our clients. Nate is one example of hundreds of thousands of individuals with disabilities who are not given the opportunity to thrive because of their differences. But I knew if we could help employers see beyond disability, that we could see some real change. That's when I started working with the Ingham ISD to create video resumes to help employers see beyond perceived stigmas and see individuals for who they really are, an asset. The videos were very effective, but it still took a long time to get in front of employers. So I developed a full online community called Beyond Our Barriers that features individuals with disabilities seeking employment opportunities. Their pages are like a standard paper resume, but include video at the top, which we call video references, like a letter of reference, but in video form, which helps the employer really envision how the individual can fit into their company and make the hire. We kept innovating and worked with Pure Michigan Talent Connect to build an RSS feed into Beyond Our Barriers of employers throughout the state who have shown interest in hiring individuals with disabilities. We've continued to create more innovative tools and solutions and build partnerships to bring awareness and education and action and results to this pool of talent that has barely tapped for decades.
This is my shining moment finally. I was a truck driver with the Michigan Army National Guard deployed over in Iraq. On November 4th, I was medically discharged because it was determined I have lymphedema in the lower section of my body. Some of my other disabilities that I have, as 7 to 8% of Americans have today, is PTS, which is post-traumatic stress syndrome.
All right, so Doug, what are you working on then today? I decided I wanted to do something a little different and help people in a different way. And I was researching different types of businesses. I thought, in-home care, what options are out there? And I chose First Light.
I spent a good 6 years looking for employment. Yes, I did pick up little side jobs. I mow a guy's yard once a week, but I was always looking for something better.
I'm finding that just running the business and making contacts is taking up all of my time, and I realized I needed another person. So I started looking online for people. I found Beyond Our Barriers. I started reviewing all of the videos, and I actually looked at a couple of people that I considered, but I called Doug first. I feel like everybody has something that they can contribute, and it doesn't really matter what they can't do. I want to know what they can do.
Just because someone has a physical or mental challenge doesn't mean that they're a liability to the employer. Sometimes the strongest employees can be those that have challenge because they already know how to overcome adversity, because they deal with it every day.
You do not have to be big to make this go. You've heard that throughout the day. I'm living proof. My 3.5-person video production company has been around for a decade now. We've been growing at a double-digit clip each year for the last 6 years. And that whole time, we've had Nate as an employee and me as an owner. I love small business. I live it every day. I can't get enough of it. Small business is truly the backbone of our economy, and it's past time to step up to the plate and start being inclusive, as some of the bigger businesses have started doing. It's not all our fault. Small business has been relatively ignored in inclusivity efforts due to the fact that we may only be able to hire 1 or 2 individuals at a time. But if you look at the big picture, small businesses have the size to collectively do some major things. Think of this for a second. There are nearly 1 million small businesses in the state of Michigan. There are 400,000 unemployed individuals with disabilities. Now, I'm not a math expert, but it seems to me that if a fraction of those small businesses would hire 1 or 2 individuals that fit their company's needs, that would easily bring the unemployment rate of individuals with disabilities down to that of the general public. That has always been my big, hairy, audacious goal. We don't have a talent shortage in this country. We have a mindset problem. Look, I've lived both sides of the equation, and I have seen the issues. I have found the solutions, and have come out the other side with the roadmap of how small businesses can not only succeed, but thrive when they tap into the unique skill set, the hidden talents, the unprecedented drive that lies within people with disabilities. And I'm excited to share it with you all. Thank you.